Welcome to AI to the Sky podcast, where global AI leaders take off. Hosted by Joseph Vale.
This episode is powered by Rocket AI. WhatsApp bans costing you sales. Rocket AI automates messaging legally with AI. Your competition's already using it. RocketAI.lat.
Today on AI to the Sky podcast, we welcome someone who has flipped the script on customer acquisition. Justin Abrams is the CEO of ARIO Consulting, one of the top consulting firms in the US. He's also the strategist behind companies scaling from 1 million to 100 million in revenue. What makes Justin unique? It's only on the scale of business he works with, but his availability to achieve what most leaders consider impossible, cutting customers acquisition costs in half, and he does it without Google, Meta, or without pouring money into overpriced urgency retainers. Today, we'll uncover how he makes this happen. Welcome. Hi, Justin. How
Thank
are
you
you?
for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Really good. Really excited to be with you here today. Justin, can you take us back to the moment when you first realized it was possible to cut CAC without Google or Meta? What happened? What did you learn from it?
Yeah, so the reason that I find this relevant is that the cost of acquisition has gone up inherently. And so we had a lot of clients who if they're doing fantastic, if acquisition cost is making them actually profitable, they don't usually reach out to us. So it's a bit of a selection bias. But the people that we were working with were saying, if Google and Meta and all the other ad platforms you can imagine continue at this rate, we're just not going to be able to spend our money at all. And so really it kind of almost became a feature of our business to figure out, well, not only how do we cut that cost, but how do we compare ourselves, across a number of different marketing tools and options, so that even when you hire us, versus not, doing it on your own or having your internal team, like how do we make the return on investment make sense? Especially even if you're spending a very small amount of money, how do we make that make sense? So that's really been our goal for small businesses, is trying to figure out that ad spend, right? If you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, that doesn't really matter if we're adjusting the ad spend. But if you're spending $5,000, $10,000 a month, you really need to dial it in properly.
Oh, yes, for sure. So, Justin, every leader has a critical failure that shaped their currently philosophy. What's yours, and how did you push you to rethink acquisition?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing for us was, when we originally set out our strategy, our business model was to be the strategy arm of for small businesses as a consulting firm. As we kind of dug deeper into that, I realized that the market really wasn't interested in strategy. And so we've had to figure out, like, well, within that strategy umbrella, what is actually needed? What do customers need us for? And where can we fit in? And so that's where we start to develop things like that marketing agency model. That's really not what we set out to be. And so, like, as a leader, you have to look at your monthly recurring revenue, or your P&L every quarter, or at least every month. You should be looking at it and figuring out, is it something that I'm doing? Is it something that the companies are doing? Are they, bad customers that they don't fit with what we're doing? What is it that we can do? And so, I did that for a number of years, and while I was successful, I wasn't I wasn't getting that like longevity that I was looking for. So I think over time, what I would say is like, you need, the hardest thing for us was like building a business that's sustainable in all times.
Mhm. Okay, okay. And well, this question is related that you were talking. How did ARIO start, and why did you decide to challenge the traditional digital marketing playbook?
Yeah, so it started because, well, it actually started during COVID, more as a way to help friends and family. It wasn't a
Mhm.
business. Over time, or at least I felt like I wanted to leave my full-time job and go into business strategy to help businesses succeed. My core thesis was like, there's a common saying that 90% of small businesses fail. Um, why is that? Like, there's a number of reasons, but the biggest reason is that they just don't have the right strategy and they don't have
Mhm.
the right basic understanding of, revenue, profit, operating cost, all of these like common things that someone with like a, basic understanding of business would be fine with. But a lot of the businesses that I work with are founded by experts or people who are really, really good at their one thing, but they don't like looking at spreadsheets all day. They don't understand risk the way that like a CFO would understand the financial markets. They don't have the relationships to tap the SBA loans or private markets or get investors. So all of those things are really important. But on the fundamental, like product market fit, like am I getting customers? That's something that like usually they are great at. And so it's really a question of like marrying like the ideas person and like the business operations person. And that's really where I started the business. That was my original goal.
You found a great opportunity over there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been successful, and I find that it's extremely needed.
Maybe it's a way of understanding maybe the client,
In what way? In what way?
in a way that they have investments on this kind of strategies and this kind of stuff. Because you were saying that you are understanding better than a cold platform, right?
Yeah, I think one thing I'll say is that marketing agencies in general,
Mhm.
they want to spend marketing budget, and their core success metric is really how much money can we spend. If we can spend more money, we can get more sales, more revenue. I tried to flip that a bit and think of like, well, in what I tend to say is like we're really more of a growth partner. Like we want you to grow, but it needs to be sustainable. Um, and a lot of clients that speak with us, they say, well, we hired a marketing agency and they only cared about their ROAS, return on ad spend.
Oh yeah.
But they don't really care about that profit. So if you're doing 3x ROAS, but your margins are 33%, then you're just breaking even. So you have to figure out a way to upsell them. If you're getting 3x ROAS, which is great, that's what most people want, but
Mhm.
your margins are 25%, you're actually losing money. So from a marketing perspective, they're thinking this is excellent, but from a business owner's perspective, they're really upset and they don't make any money. So that's where I find that we're very good is we can actually embed into the company, figure out the profit, where are we there, and then how can we grow effectively. It's built for a longer destination.
So uh, let's say that a company it's heavily depending on Google Ads. What are the
Mm.
first three shifts that they should make today to begin reducing CAC?
We'll say that last part again.
What are the first three shifts that they should make today to begin reducing CAC?
Yeah, so the first thing is just look at your channel attribution. That's like a fancy way of saying just take a look at where you're spending your ads. Let's just say the average business I work with is spending it on, maybe 2 or 3 channels. So usually Google, usually Meta, and then something else. Maybe they're doing postcards, maybe they're doing like SEO, maybe they're spending on TikTok, or usually there's some kind of spend there
Uh-huh.
somewhere. It's usually across 3. I just like to figure out like, well, what are you doing there? Like, where is your spending? And can you appropriately say if you spend more on one? So if let's just say you have $10,000, keep it round. If you
Mhm.
spend, if it's 40, 40, and 20 breakdown, uh, if you changed it and you just got rid of one, like where are you actually going to see success there? Or like how important is it for us to keep that? Once you do that, like if you can actually figure out like, is this pie being split up the right way? Then I usually tell clients, let's cut our ad spend for the month. The first month that we work together, I usually like to cut the ad spend, or or we'll wait, run the ad spend with a few updates, and see how it
Mhm.
goes. From there, I tend to recommend a few tools that I use, and there's a bunch of tools, but we want to identify who those customers are, who those visitors are, and run further lookalike audiences and just make sure that that audience is well established. Um, the biggest piece that I find is it's the speed to lead. So you'll have amazing ads. Customer will come to your website. They'll submit a form. Someone will get back to them in a day or two. It's not going to work, or they'll get back to them in an hour or two. The best businesses I talk to get back to you in under a few minutes. So it's really a question of like figuring out that entire funnel, where you're losing your leads from. Is it that you have a problem getting them into the site? Is it that you have a brand awareness issue? Is it that you have a brand persona issue? Like, are you actually reaching the right people? So it could be a number of things, but really just figuring out that full stack, and then iterating over a month or two to figure out like where can you actually cut your spend.
Okay. Thank you for that advice. Justin, artificial intelligence is redefining business and also decision making. How do you see AI transforming customer acquisition and CAC reduction in maybe, I don't know, 3 or 5 years, maybe less?
Well, it's already starting to affect. I'll talk about the first thing, which is I think the most important, which is um, just general acquisition, customer acquisition. So I believe 10% of traffic going to either it might be Etsy, I think, is coming through ChatGPT. Now there is no pay. Etsy is not paying for that right now. I'm sure they will. I'm sure ChatGPT is very bright, and they're going to figure out a way to get paid for that. Um, but it's an important thing that's saying, well, in the past, you used to type in, best restaurant near me on Google. Now you go to ChatGPT and you ask it, and it gives you, it serves up that response. So I think that that immediate kind of like search answer feature is just moving from ChatGPT. I'm sorry, moving from Google to ChatGPT. Now it's a different game of algorithmic choosing. Yet
Yeah.
it's quite similar to how the old game of SEO is played, which is like blogs and content creation, and making sure that all of that stuff is good. What we're also seeing is like there's a much higher purchase ratio. So whatever your conversion rate would have been for Google, historically, Meta has had about half as good of a conversion rate as Google, because people aren't as interested in buying, and they obviously make up for that in cost. ChatGPT has an even higher conversion rate than Google, which is crazy, and it could be like 30 or 40%. Um, and you don't have to technically pay for that currently. So how can we gamify the ChatGPTs and the LLMs of the world? That is a huge, huge market that it's just starting to take place, but there's not even any automation yet. It's just purely how can you show up first.
Well, I have in mind one question that do you think on your strategy and on your experience, SEO is going to die because
No,
of
I don't think SEO will ever die. I think the I spoke with a guy years and years ago, and he was doing SEO for Spotify, for
okay.
podcast gamifying. That like massively changed the way that I look at SEO. I think if you ask the average person in SEO, it's about gamifying Google. Uh, you know, that's fair. I'm all for that. And there are some variations of SEO that are more for ASO, App Store optimization. But I think most people just inherently think of SEO as Google. If you can just flip that and just say SEO is about showing up in the top 2 or 3 on all platforms or on any specific platform, I think that is a huge market, and that TAM, the market size of SEO, will grow, even though I believe that the Google SEO is kind of saturating. I think it's probably less important. But if you're a big business, you still need to focus on it. If you're a small business and you have a location, Google Maps is still super, super critical. So I don't think it's going to die in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't see it dying. It might change, but
Yeah.
definitely not going to die.
Justin, if you had to leave our audience with a non-negotiable principle for scaling without relying on big tech giants, what would be?
You have to think about your customer and what resonates with them, and figure out whoever they are, whoever resonates with you, whoever really trusts you. I always recommend just going to where they are and putting out really high quality content. It's just something that AI can't and should not do yet. It has to be super, super real. But if you're selling, an e-commerce clothing brand, like you should be on TikTok or Instagram, and you should be really, really focused on, creating, generated content with users. You should be using like your founder story. You should be going really, really heavily into like where your customers are. That will drop your acquisition cost quite a lot. You could run all the ads in the world, but there's nothing better than, UGC and founder stories. So I just always think like most people try and get too complex. I was just talking to a founder. She's like, okay, I want to be on LinkedIn. I want to be on Meta. I want to be on Instagram. I want to be on Facebook groups. I want to be on YouTube. I want to be, and I'm like, whoa, like, let's go. That's a lot of work. They're not all the same. It's not like you can just create one piece of content and spread it across 10 channels. Every channel has its own type of user.
Yeah.
So you really have to just pick one that you think is going to be the best. Once you hit $100,000 a month, then we can think about expanding to a second or third option. But you need to make it so good that like that customer in that one location loves it.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. It was really clear. So Justin, this has been an incredible insight. Thank you for sharing our AI to the Sky audience, these strategies for thinking how we acquire customers and scale businesses intelligently. For our listeners, you just can follow Justin on LinkedIn and also check out ARIO Consulting. And remember, your best business decision combine data, strategy, and humanity. Thank you so much for this one, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you.
AI is evolving. Are you? Subscribe now or get left behind. AI to the Sky podcast.